everyone. I am so glad you guys could join me. I'm sorry I'm a few minutes late, but we're gonna do cake basics tonight. I hope everyone was able to get here on time, even though I was a little late. I'm so sorry about that. So tonight we're gonna talk about cake basics. Everyone always has questions about it. So how do you do it? I have issues. Do you crumb coat? Do you not crumb coat? Here's how I do it. I will always say this, please remember, there are probably 400 different ways to do any sort of baking. So there is never a right way or a wrong way. This is just the way it works for me, and hopefully it'll work for you. Okay, so before I start with anything, let me talk about the circles, because I think this is also kind of a question a lot of people have. You have your typical cake circle. It's like the glossy, no stain on one side, and it's just your typical standard cardboard. This one, I do not set my main cake on this one anymore. I only use this in between for my tiers because it's just not as pretty. Then you have your cake drums. So they come, this is an 1/8 of an inch, and then this is the 1/4 inch. So here's how I kind of decide which drum I'm gonna use. It's kind of basically on the cost of the cake. So if I have a simple little birthday cake that's like, you know, just a simple 1, 2, 3 little cake, kind of, you know, lower end price point, I'll probably do this. And then if I have a little bit more elaborate size cake, you know, over the top, I'm gonna do the larger drum because for presentation wise, it's just prettier. You can also, and I used to do this many, many moons ago, you can, if you don't have drums near you, you can take multiple of these and hot glue them together so that you can create a thicker edge, and then you can cover it in the foil. I know Michael's and Walmart and usually craft places, Hobby Lobby, they'll sell like the foil that you can actually put on these, and you can make your own drum, so to speak. So for tonight, we'll just do the little one. All right, here's the other thing that I have. So I have 6-inch cakes and that I baked, and I freeze all my cakes because I decorate everything frozen. I think that's one of like the biggest misconceptions is everyone bakes their cake, and then if you don't freeze it, well, when you start rubbing your icing on it, you're gonna pick your crumbs up. So if your cake is frozen and solid, you don't have a chance to pick up those crumbs. So the other thing I'm gonna show you, as you see, this is a larger one. So sometimes you bake the wrong size, or you might have an extra cake, and we're going to cut out a 6-inch round out of this so then you can see, it's cake, you can make it all work, I promise. Cake is cake. All right, so let me show you this so you can see. So when I bake my cakes, I spray the pan, and I actually use parchment circles underneath each of them. So this is what it looked like before baked. You can buy regular parchment, and look, I'll bend down low for you. You can buy regular parchment and just cut out your circle, or if you decide that, you know, you're getting to the point where you need to actually buy the pre-done circles, I have them in 6-inch, 8-inch, and 10-inch rounds, and so you can absolutely do that. So, all right, so let's move the camera so that you guys can see all the jazz. So with my cake, I will always cut my tops off because you see you've got that rounded edge and it's not going to be pretty. So you will want to take your serrated knife, always a serrated knife. Please don't cut yourself, but you're going to slice it, and you're going to just slice your top off. So you can take that dome off, which of course then, you know, if you've got a husband who's a little hungry, a kid who's a little hungry, or you want to make those forever loving cake pops, you've got yourself some scraps. So as you can see, I don't like cake pops. Okay, so you've got your cake round, and I always turn my cakes over and I put it here. And I made Swiss meringue buttercream. It's the only buttercream I use. I know that everyone has different, you know, depending on where you're at, cottage law, all that other stuff, if you can use it or not. But honestly, if you want to make it, if you've never made it before, I highly recommend it. Even if you don't sell it and you just do it for friends and family, it's like clouds. So I just do like a dollop. I mean, there's really no rhyme or reason. And I use an offset spatula. This is my favorite little friend. I love them. My hands are small and it fits comfortably in my hand. So I will just smooth out the icing. Basically, it's really just making it flat. You know, it's not anything major. You don't need to worry about your edges to clean it up, because you have to remember you're gonna crumb coat, and then we're gonna, after we crumb coat, we're gonna pretty coat and all these other things. All right, so we're gonna take our next one, and I have parchment down, which I live by parchment, so they're my favorite. So I just, you know, you be rough, it's cake, but he's frozen. So remember, he's frozen, so he's not gonna break, he's not gonna bend. You can be forceful with it. You kind of show him who's boss. All right, so I take my little circle off, and then I'm gonna cut my dome off, because you can see. And now here's the other thing. So there are some people that bake in like those really tall pans, and I don't usually do that. I will, if I bake them a little higher than this, I'll tort them, which will mean to cut it into two layers right in the middle. But I don't bake them higher because, as you've come to all learn and love, I'm a procrastinator, and it takes longer to bake them like that. So I don't do it. All right, but I will cut off more of this one without cutting your hand. See, frozen. You show us who's boss, you're all good. All right, so I also have an Agbe, which I do highly recommend an Agbe. It is a cutter that will cut through your cakes, and you can kind of go 1, 2, 3. But honestly, I wouldn't even invest in it unless you're having like a huge problem cutting the tops off without like going to the ER, or B, you can't get like a good round, or C, you're just doing so much cake that you're like, man, me and the serrated knife need to part ways. It's time for an Agbe. But okay, so take this, turn him upside down, and then another dollop of icing. Okay, and again, it's the same deal. So when I make my cake, my minimum preference is always 3 layers in every tier. I think it's a beautiful slice. I think it adds height and it adds drama. I don't like a short little dumpy cake like I would make in my Easy Bake Oven. So I do go a bit longer. All right, now let's go and let's talk about this guy. So we want to make this guy into a 6-inch. I think this is a 10-inch. I will be honest with you, of course, you know I'm lazy. I had leftover cake in my freezer, and I really don't even know why I had this cake, but I said, we're gonna cake it. Hey, Rusty. All right, so here's how I cut out when I'm like, hey, in a pinch, I gotta fix it. All right, so here your a couple of options is you can take, hey, Chrissy, you can take a circle, a 6-inch round circle, and then I just place it on top as a guide. And you can, I mean, really, it doesn't matter where you put it. But I know that I'm not using the rest of this cake for anything. So I will just, with my knife, go around and cut out my 6-inch round. And again, remember, the cake is frozen, so you can work with it. And if you learn anything in life, learn this. Absolutely, the freezer is your best friend. It is not your enemy. It's not going to hurt your cake. If anything, it's going to make it more moist. I'm not telling you to freeze your cake for 1.5 years and then, dip back in. But I'm saying throw it in the freezer so that you can decorate without causing a war with your cake. So you see, perfect 6-inch round. Come over here, little lady. And then I will put him upside down just like I did the rest. Okay, so let's just move all this little goodies to the side. Let me wipe my hands off because I cannot stand cake on my hands. All right, so let's see. Let me rinse my hands. Alrighty, okay, so now I'm going to crumb coat the cake. And I always crumb coat my cakes. I find that if I didn't, I would get a bulge. I know a lot of people have bulging issues. So that really, to me, it comes from too much icing in between here and not enough of a nice shell to support the weight. So when you get so much icing in the middle, it is so far away from your cake below, structurally it can't support itself. So what does it do? It goes, and it's a good thing. I think I may have spit, but it's all right. The cake's for my family. Okay, so let's I go like this. You have some people that will take a bag and pipe around. Again, I'm lazy. So here's what I do. I just put it on top. And I work from the top down because I found that this just kind of works best for me. So again, I will take and I will go and really just fill in the seams is my most important. And so when I'm doing a crumb coat, the number one thing that I really, oh, Tracy, do not worry. The video will be saved under events. You guys can watch this as many times as you want. Rewind me. I love being rewound. So do not worry about it. Okay. So when you're crumb coating, the most important thing, it's not to get a thickness. It's just to get a nice covering. You want your seams between your layers to have the icing and a nice thin. It's just spinning. Oh, I don't know, Trey, but I will have Christy look into that. Okay, so here we go. So you will do and go all the way around the cake and fill in the holes. And then the one thing that I will recommend is that sometimes, no matter if your cake is frozen or not, you will sometimes pick up crumbs. So I will dip over here, but I will say that I never will wipe this spatula off back into my main bucket of icing because I never want, if I'm decorating more than one cake, number one, I don't want, like, if my vanilla cake has some crumbs and it goes back in my bowl and then I touch my chocolate cake. Or if I get some crumbs and then I go to do my outer layer, now I have crumbs in my layer. So if I'm gonna scrape off my spatula for any reason, I'll scrape it into a separate bowl. See? All right. So we will go around. And honestly, if you have any questions, I'm totally looking up and I will see, hopefully, any questions. But always remember that if you do have questions, feel free to ask in the group anytime. Message me, anything you want. I'm always here to help. Or if I said something and you're like, what did you say? I don't understand it. I'm always happy to explain it. Okay, so you want to get the holes, but then do you see this? Let's see if I can pick it up. You see the bottom here, how you still have this? You really want to have the full cake go all the way around. The icing, I mean. So, without making like a mess. So I will go and make sure that the whole bottom is sealed. And then after I crumb coat it, I will put it in the freezer to chill. So if you ever iced a cake, okay, see now this stuff didn't touch anything, so you see I can throw it back in because I got some of the top stuff. So, and then I will smooth this down. A lot of times I'll do 1 or 2 crumb coats. It just really kind of depends on the cake. You know, sometimes the cake, you know, cooperates and sometimes the cake is not nice, you know. And to get the bottom board clean, honestly, I just take a paper towel and I clean it right up. But a lot of times you can take your spatula after the cake's been frozen and you can scrape it all up, the extra, and then take a paper towel after. So the key here is I just want to make it smooth because the goal is that if every step of your cake has a smooth foundation, then you're like on your way to the smooth to a smooth cake. This is Swiss meringue buttercream. So Joanne, this is Swiss meringue. All right, so you see I have a nice base. Everybody's pretty happy. I'll clean this up down here. Okay. So the cake's happy. Everything's covered. you know, it's not perfect because it's not supposed to be. This is really just supposed to be a crumb coat to get your base layer. And then I'm gonna throw this in the freezer, and then I'm gonna tell you for like 1 minute, and then I'm gonna tell you what happens if you don't wait. Because, so a lot of times when you are decorating your cake, and so like let's say you put the crumb coat on, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna go put another layer on. Well, if that crumb coat hasn't frozen up or stiffened, you're gonna pull it off when you go to add your next layer of icing. Like you're just working against yourself. So usually I would put it in there for like 10 minutes. It doesn't need to be in there very long because remember my cake was frozen, so the icing was chilling as the cake was there. I'll talk to you for like another second and then I'll go get it. We'll discuss. Does anyone else have any questions? No. So you can do filling. So if you were ever doing a filling and then you realized, oh my gosh, so years ago I did this cake and I filled it with fresh raspberries. I mean, like many a moon ago. And so when I filled it with fresh raspberry, I thought, oh, you know what I should do? I should squish the raspberries and put them in the cake. And when I came downstairs, I had like a raspberry flood in my entire fridge because just overnight it just went and I didn't make a dam. So if you ever do any filling on your cake, what you want to do is when you do the cake, you want to make a dam of icing, do your filling, and then the dam will protect it. So Chrissy says that she has a problem getting her smooth finish coat. So the key for the smooth coat is there's so many different tools, but I find the best is whatever tool you're using, you want to make sure you run under hot water so that the heat, because this is a butter-based icing, so when you of course put heat on butter, it melts and then it will give you that smooth finish. And Amy, for when I do dowels, I do not dowel the cake until the cake is fully decorated. So let's say this was gonna be a 2-tiered cake and this was top tier. If this was like being covered in fondant, I would fondant it, fully ice it, fondant it, and then I would dowel it. Or, you know, put the supports in based on what the decoration needs to be. I don't do it early because I find this. If you, in my personal opinion, is that if I were to go and ice the cake and to put dowels in it, and then let's say I'm gonna cover it in fondant or decorate it, when that person goes to cut the cake, they can't even see a guide as to where those dowels are. So I wait until it's all decorated and push it in, and then you can kind of see when you take the tiers off, you can see the poke holes of where it was. So Yogi wants to know, if I need a cake Saturday, can I do all crumb coating and frosting today and tomorrow? And is there a lot of fondant detail? And then there's more she asked, but I cannot see. You can absolutely crumb coat and frost today. You just need to keep your cake in the fridge or the freezer. There's many times that I'll crumb coat my cake and I'll even ice my cake and I'll leave it in the freezer. So when I use fondant, I make sure that my cake goes into the fridge before it's the fondant goes on. So if the cake is frozen, when you go to put fondant on, it will freeze your fondant as you put it on. So if I'm like, let's say I'm gonna do a fondant covered cake, I'll ice it and do all that and I'll decorate it, get it all covered in buttercream and have it in the freezer. And then let's say now it's time I'm gonna fondant it. Well, if it's in the day, I'll either let it come warm up on the counter, or I'll move it to the fridge. And then I decorate them from the fridge. I also store my fondant cakes back in my fridge. So that's definitely, that works for me. I know that there's definitely areas that have, fridges with, moisture and stuff, but you have to remember that, again, baking is completely science. So you have to remember that if you have your cake in the fridge and your fridge is set at, 35 degrees, and then you're going to take your cake out of the fridge and your room is 70 degrees, you're going to have condensation on your cake. The problem is it's like that pimple on your nose that you really want to touch, but you're like, should I? And then you do and you're like, I shouldn't have. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to touch the condensation. You just want to let her come to room temperature on her own. Like she's sunbathing in the Bahamas, just on her own. And the condensation will evaporate away. I find I have touched it, like that zit, I have touched it, and it just smears it, and it turns gummy, and you're like, oh my gosh, you're killing me. All right, I'm going to grab the cake, and then I'm going to answer May's question. Hold on, let me get the cake. All right, so I got the cake, and then you know when the cake has kind of had enough time to chill because I can touch it and my hands are clean. See, so it has solidified, it's solid, it's good. All right, so we can do the next thing. All right, please give me advice. I made a cake yesterday. The event supposed to be tomorrow and customer delay event 2 days. I'm gonna try to hit see more, but I don't think I can. All right. So I'm guessing that you've made the cake and now you have to hold it a few days. You can hold it in the fridge. It's not a big deal. Don't cover it because your buttercream and your fondant acts like a barrier. So it's not a big deal. Nothing will happen to it. But I promise that after I'm done with the live, I will go read everything else I missed and then answer anything I missed. All right. This turntable is a Ateco, A-T-E-C-O. They're heavy, but they're great. So there's tons of them. Get what works for you. This one works well for me. Okay, so again, I did the same exact thing. I put my icing on top and then I go around and I just start, getting it thicker and making it pretty. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's nice and light and fluffy the way buttercream should be. I know that, ABC buttercream acts a different way. I'll be honest with you, I probably haven't worked with ABC buttercream in over 10 years. So it's just, once I got a hold of this, I'm going to be honest with you. Here's how I started. I did go to culinary school and all that jazz, but I started making my son's 2nd birthday cake and he wanted Blue's Clues and I didn't know how to do it. So I figured it out and I didn't know how to make icing. So I made a Duncan Hines box mix and I used icing out of a can. And I would squeeze 2-3 stars and then I have to go in the freezer because the icing is not meant to be done like that, but I didn't know. So once I started I want to do this on the side, I went and took a Wilton class because I wanted to learn how to make the Wilton rose. And so I started off making the Wilton icing. And I did that for a couple of years. And then when I decided to do this full time back in 2011, for me personally, I decided I wanted everything to be made from scratch. So I threw away all my box mixes, worked on all my recipes, and got rid of ABC buttercream and fell in love with Swiss meringue. And I just kind of never looked back. So it really worked for me. So Marla, this is Swiss meringue. All right, so as you see, it's all on. As you see, he might be leaning a little, but it's all on and it's kind of fluffy. And then I will go through and, now it's like your beautification time. So you have all this. Now, I know before I said that I wouldn't put the icing back in the main bowl, but now that I've had the crumb coat on and this is the upper layer, it's not touching cake. So now I have no problem to put it back into the main bowl. But I will just go around and take off all of the excess. And basically that's pretty much it. I mean, I'll go back in and see, I'm like, oh, you know what? This is kind of thin. Let me put this here. Now, in an ideal world, I would put this back in the freezer a couple of times if I felt like, oh, you know what? She's not behaving today, or I'm not getting her as, I want to do 2 coats. I don't want to do just 1. So, but I know that's kind of hard for you guys to see them go back and forth, but we'll do that. And then I pull off because I do like a sharp edge. I don't like a domed edge, but domed edges are actually kind of making all the rage again and coming back. Make it like your grandma's cake, which are awesome. But while I'm doing this, I'm gonna show you my most favorite and most popular wedding design that everyone definitely loves, and it is so huge right now. And I'll be honest with you, when your icing is not behaving, you have to learn the tricks of the trade to be like, hey, you know what? I wanted this cake to go this way, but she ain't behaving right now, so I decided to give you a buttercream texture. So here's how you do it. So let me just add a little extra here. So this is by far of all my wedding cakes, people want this so much, and you can do it every which way. So here's how it goes. I just want you to know this is very official. It's basically, I hold my spatula right here and I turn my turntable. And it will create what I call the buttercream waves. And right now, rustic weddings are all the rage. Everyone loves them. I mean, and then, you know, sometimes you have a little extra, but you can create this, let's take this off. You can create this buttercream wave, and then you can do this. And then, so you see, it has these little, cute little ridges. Didn't need a comb, didn't need a special anything. You could do it with the back of your spatula. You could do it with a knife, you could do it with a spoon. All right, let's do one other one. I don't want to make it. Let's do another one so we can go through. Because I think this is like the best part is, yes, I can totally sit here and show you. I mean, basically me making it completely smooth is exactly, you know, just going over it and over it and over it. But let me show you some of these fun little buttercream techniques, which I think are super fun, super easy, and make you kind of look like this rock star right out of the gate. All right, so the other one that here, you need more here. The other one I like, and you know, it's like playing with Play-Doh also. Like you just play with her like all day long. All right, okay, so here's the other one I also like, is that instead of going around, I also like to go at an angle. And you basically just swoop it at an angle all the way around. That one, I love this one also. But gosh, people just absolutely love this doll. And then of course you have your semi-naked cakes, which are different than your naked cakes because you're semi-naked, and people do get confused. Semi-naked means that you do have a little layer of icing around it, and you do see cake through it. And a naked cake means there's zero icing except in between. So you see how pretty that is? It's super pretty. Okay, so Tina wants to learn buttercream flowers. Oh, you know, we can totally work on buttercream flowers. Probably not right this second, but we can absolutely have a night of buttercream flowers. But let's go and we'll smooth this. So I'll smooth this up a bit, and then I'll heat up my spatula, and I'll show you how she will smooth up. So, and I mean, I think the biggest thing I can ever tell you is to just have patience. Have patience with the cake, you know, because a lot of the times you get nervous, you feel like, or I do, I'll get nervous or I'll feel like I'm racing, and that's when you're like, it's not behaving, you know, you make big mistakes, and you're like I'm gonna be honest with you, I made this epic mistake this other day. When I tell you this epic mistake, like this cake, I don't know what it was, but my daughter came in and looked at me and said, what was that? And I will tell you, I honestly had to take the entire cake apart, make new icing. And when she came in and she was like, I don't even know how you made that go back together. It's cake. You can take it apart, but don't take it, but think things through. So like, let's say I'm working on this right now and I'm like, I don't like where it's going. It's not working for me. I would start taking the icing off, but making sure taking off the clean icing to save and the crumb icing over here. And then I would chill the cake and get it back nice and cold. And then I would pull it apart, because if you start messing and your cake has come to room temperature, she's gonna break. And then you don't want broken layers, because you won't have any structure. And you won't be able to you won't be able to support the weight of anything. So I just heated it. And then you will see when you heat it, it will make, let me lift the cake. It will make See how it becomes smoother? It's just the heat of your spatula. It's the heat of your spatula and it's going around. So I know that people do like with the ABC, people will do the paper towel trick and that stuff. Again, that's ABC. I don't really know anything about it. It just, I don't know, it kind of seems weird to put paper towel on the cake, but you know, you gotta do what works for you. I'm also a lefty, so I always had to like go and reverse everything, but you definitely have to do. So let's go and take this to a semi-naked so that you can see. Because remember, this is how easy it is to take the icing right back off the cake. And semi-naked, I don't know if by you it's really huge, but by me, everyone wants to get married in a barn, and everyone wants a rustic wedding, and to sweat their armpits off, you know, outside in a barn in Virginia in the summer at 100 degrees with bugs falling on their cake, which drives me insane. But I love a semi-naked cake. I just think it is so darn pretty when you can kind of see the rusticness of the cake coming through. So I personally love it. Not everyone does. Some people are like, where's the icing? You know, some people are not. But when I tell you, when you start to put your cake together, you see structurally, she's solid. There's not going to be any bulging. She's got enough of a shell on her. She doesn't have too many. You like how she's always a her? She is. You don't have too much icing in between your layers, and that would cause a collapsing. So that's it. I mean, here's the deal. If you think your cake is wobbly for any reason, you're going to have a problem later on. So make sure that when you start with the cake at the basic point, it's straight, it's level. I do keep here, let's see. Let me grab my level. Okay, so I always put a level on my cake and, oh, look at that. Okay, so you want to make sure your cake is level. Wait, there you go. And then there are things to do, like if you're just slightly off, like I did, where I just pushed it down. But see, look at that, not bad, but it's just because I have too much icing here. But you want to make sure your cake is level, especially if you're going to take this cake and then you're going to put this onto another tier. So if you start with an unlevel cake, your whole design's not going to be level. And then you're going to have structural difficulty and possibly collapsing. No one wants that. Trust me, I've had a cake-tastrophe. It is the worst. And yes, my level is purple. And the reason why is because my husband had a yellow one and I stole it. So he had to buy me a purple toolkit so he could get his level back. And that was the only way he could get it. But yes. So, here, let's see. Rusty lives in Ohio. Everyone wants outside. I know. And I'm thinking, here's what I think that this would be like the best design ever. I would like to find someone who would design me a table that had this plexiglass dome that went up and you had your wedding cake in it and it was like temperature controlled. And then, so everyone can ooh and ah in their barn outside with it. And then when it was time to cut the cake, the plexiglass opened and dropped down and you don't have bugs flying into your icing, because that drives me insane. So I'm going to tell you, it's crazy. But, Kelly says, does the icing whenever alter the consistency of icing a lot? No. I can sit here and I could ice this cake with you over and over and over again, and it's really not a problem. Now, if I keep putting it on and taking it off, remember the cake is cold. So I will sometimes have to just with my hand remix my icing because it'll change, but the Swiss meringue is pretty darn like bendy and flimsy and kind of magical in that way. So Kelly, thank you. The purple comes from, is that not $1 million idea? I'm telling you right now, we will go into business together. If you can find me someone to build it, I'm all in. But yes. So look, you have your cake basics. I'm pretty kind of stoked that this came out level without really trying it. But yeah, so I have absolutely loved our time together. Christy and I will be posting some new classes coming for April. So many exciting things. As you saw today, we hit 10,000. So I'm super excited. It was awesome. I love this group more than anything. And I always have a great time with you. And I cannot remember right now what our next classes are. Oh, yes, I can. Christy has a class this weekend on understanding the fundamentals of Canva, which is super awesome. All those great flyers that we make, that's where they come from. And I will tell you right now, she is a whiz at it. So if you want to join in on that one, that is a paid class, but awesome. You will enjoy it, and I promise you will love it. And you do get over to our other private Facebook group, which we have so much fun at too. But all of our groups are great, and I love everyone. Once I sign off, I am going to go through and kind of answer everything that I may not have touched on. But if you have any follow-up questions, ask them on this thread, and I will get to them tonight. So, like always, happy baking, happy decorating, and I hope your little girl cake at home behaves just like mine did today. See you later.